Let the enumerators of the communities of heaven send representatives. 32 Book of Sethantes, son of Jehovih. 19 Before me. The communities of manufacturers who produce food and clothes for the Essenes, the communities for hospitals and nurseries, the communities for education, the communities for training messengers, and all other communities. 2. When the representatives came, according to the instructions of the marshals, and were before the throne, Oahspe said, 3. The toilers shall not be always toilers, the physicians not always runners after the sick. Whosoever is proficient will I exalt. He that can walk shall no longer crawl. 4. Many are wise and strong, and some have passed beyond the boundary of self-desires for self's sake. 5. A child may not have self-desires, but then it lacketh wisdom and strength. A full-grown man or woman may have wisdom and strength, but lack in the abnegation of self. 6. I will make every community a double from this time forth, and one shall be called Maga, and the other shall be called Minga. Maga shall be my promoted laborers, who are being prepared for the second resurrection. 7. And Maga's labor shall be in concert with Meb, the house of JEHOVIH. But Minga's labor shall be as heretofore, even with individual affairs and the organizing of new places for the delivered Essenes, who are the fruit of the lords and their kingdoms on the earth. 8. Let my marshals select judges to carry out these my decrees, in the name of JEHOVIH. Chapter 16. Finstalment Ram. The founding of Horde until the installment of Oahspe was 130 years, and at that time the lower kingdom of heaven was fully organized according to the decree of JEHOVIH. 2. And the kingdoms of the lords on earth were also fully established. And at that time the earth had passed into Hunish, in the Etherian space, where dwell the Osirian Shravars, to whom the swift messengers from God had reported the condition of the earth's surface, with the tablets of grade and ingrade of mortals. 3. The Shravars said, the earth hath not attained her fullness. The gases of her low regions must be purified to make more places for mortals. 4. So it came to pass there fell upon the earth, by command of the Shravars, by the will of JEHOVIH, fire and brimstone and iron and phosphorus, and the shower thereof reached into the 5 divisions of the earth. But ere the fall thereof, God was apprised, and he apprised the lords, and they informed the Ashers, and they impressed such mortals as were in rapport with heavenly things, and the chosen marched away from the places of destruction, so that not one perished. 5. But many of the Essenes were consumed in the fire. 6. But God sent extra workmen, and surgeons and physicians, from heaven down, to such spirits as were falling into forgetfulness and dissolution, and commanded that they be engrafted on the surviving Essenes for pity's sake, and this was accomplished through the lords of the earth and their servants, the Ashers. 7. At the end of 200 years God enumerated the people in the lower heaven, and there were, besides the spirits of the Fetals, many of whom were doubtful as to everlasting life, 296 million souls. Of this number there had been raised up to the grade of brides and bridegrooms to JEHOVIH more than 30 million, who were the first of the earth's production. 8. And now was the 6th generation of the seed of the fallen angels delivered, and this was the fullness of earth bondage for them. 9. God summoned the house of Meb for the revelations of JEHOVIH on the 1st day of the 1st year of Dan of Hunish. And when they were thus assembled, and had chanted to JEHOVIH appropriate anthems for the times past, the all-light came upon God, and he said, 10. Behold, the time of Dan of Hunish is at hand. Ere 3 days pass by, the hosts from the Etherian heavens will descend to accomplish the resurrection of my hosts to the regions whence they came 200 years ago. 11. Summon my lords of the earth, and my people of heaven, proclaim my words unto them. 12. Ye that peopled the earth with everlasting life, give ear, the harvest of the new year is ripened, it shall be gathered into the heavens above. Let my people rejoice, for the glory of deliverance is at hand. 13. There awhiteth, full of hope and love, in Osirian fields, hosts of angels and archangels, to receive these, the first fruits of the new earth. 3320 Oahspe. 14. Clothe them in quietness with the rays of light. Make ready, for Etherian gods and goddesses are setting sail in the regions above to come and deliver us. 15. Proclaim my words in all places in the name of JEHOVIH. And add unto them, saying, and to as many as desire to ascend, come ye to Meb, in the name of the Son of JEHOVIH. 16. Messengers went forth, both in heaven and on the earth, and proclaimed as had been commanded. 17. And on the third day there assembled in Meb and Hord 90 million angels, to witness the descending and ascending of JEHOVIH's chosen. And the archangels of Hunish sent 100,000 gods and goddesses to guard Meb and Hord around about, to dispel and keep away the clouds and sunshine, so as to add glory to the scene. The chapter 17. Lu is came before God, and having organized themselves into one community, so as to make it lawful to speak in Meb, they appointed Gawasa to speak on behalf of the community. Gawasa said, 2. Hear me, O God, in the name of JEHOVIH. Thou hast ordained me according to the custom of heaven, to be a master of generations with mortals, and yet one generation is incomplete, wherefore I have come before thee. This day I have been summoned by JEHOVIH, through thy messengers, saying, to as many as desire to enter the next resurrection, come, for the time of harvest is at hand. Thus saith God, Son of JEHOVIH, behold, now, another generation do I desire to dwell on earth. 3. God said, the places of heaven are open to all. If thou wouldst ascend now, do even if thou wilt tarry one generation, then thou shalt tarry 200 years, for of such period will be the next harvest. So. 4. Gawasa said, in JEHOVIH's name, let my brethren pass before thee in judgment. 5. God said, JEHOVIH's will be done. 6. Gawasa withdrew and went and told his brethren what was said, and presently they came in and passed in judgment before God. 7. God said, thou hast said, let me pass in judgment before thee. Hear me, then, for this is my judgment, if thou ascend with thy work incomplete, thou wilt be the unhappiest of men. Remain, therefore, for a greater glory is within thy reach. 8. The Lewis passed to the left, signifying their determination to tarry yet 200 years more with mortals. 9. After the Lewis came others desiring to be adjudged by God, and to all who had incompleted work, God said, remain. And they remained. 10. Besides these were 70,000 Ethereans eligible to ascend, who volunteered to remain with mortals another 200 years. Amongst these were the 5 lords in Haja, and 400 messengers belonging to Hord, and 700 women in Fetal, in the western division of Hord under Waga, Lord of Waga. Heaven. Chapter 18. JEHOVIH spake in the ark of Oahspe, in the JEHOVIH said, the time of the earth is at hand, the deliverance of her firstborn will fall at your doors. Come forth, O my sons and daughters, receive ye them from my hand. 2. Onzi, high aspiring goddess of Hun, she, and the 1,000 counselors, gathered in a host of 5 million souls, emancipated, and to them the dignified Onzi spake, saying, 3. Unlike all harvests heretofore delivered to us from other corporeal worlds, JEHOVIH sendeth us the firstborn of the earth. Let us rejoice and glorify him, O my beloved. Send forth to the boundaries of Hunish and proclaim the hosts of earth upraised. Provide them with mansions and quarters, ye that remain at home. And ye that volunteer to go to the earth to receive them, come quickly. 4. Onzi said, swift messengers have just come to me from the ark of Wan, Edesai will be there. She it was who bestowed JEHOVIH's crown on the first god of the corporeal earth. Her hosts, 1,000,000 strong, go by the way of Tivius, and pray we meet them in Oahspe. And thou, Wista, shall sit on my throne. I will to the earth, to receive the 30 million newborn, the glorious gift of JEHOVIH. 5. Onzi said, the young virgin earth hath given birth. O the joy of the firstborn! I will take with me a host of singers, 1,000,000 strong. Their voices shall have power and sweetness to win the love and adoration of all the 30 million. The glory of JEHOVIH's works shall shine so brilliantly upon them that all past 34 book of Sethantes, son of JEHOVIH. 21 trials shall be forgotten. Hasten, O ye gods and goddesses! Let down the curtains of fire. Here begins the play of JEHOVIH in the management of a new world. 6. Now gathered together men and women, long raised up in the emancipated heavens, whose wills were potent over Agi and nebulae, and swift in appropriating what JEHOVIH had fashioned in the firmament. And they built a ship, the size of which was equal to the width of Hord, and filled it within with angels of the rank of gods and goddesses, many of whom had been brought forth into life before the earth was created, and whose native corporeal worlds had gone out of existence. And they let down curtains from the ship, and the curtains were like flames of fire, and they reached downward, equal to the breadth of the earth. 7. These gods and goddesses were as a unit in will, and potent and swift workmen, and the ship was laden, and on her course through the vault of heaven. Past the Ajan fields of Chiwang she rode swiftly. Soon the hosts of the much-loved Edisei were seen in a smaller craft, highly polished and swift, making way for Oahspe. 8. Up goeth a shout of joy from millions of throats, then a song of delight, heaven is joyful in JEHOVIH's boundless dominions. And now the twain approach Oahspe, and they slacken speed and near each other, nearer and nearer, till the ships touch and are joined by skilled workmen. 9. Forth leap the two goddesses, Edisei and Onzi, and in no stateliness or ceremony, but like children in whom love is transcendent, they fly to each other's arms, amidst the outburst of joy from the countless throng. Yet onward moves the Etherian ship, majestic and meteor-like, steadily taking course to the new earth. Chapter 19. ND Now the evening of the third day had come, and God and his hosts in Mebe were hastening all things, to be ready for the great light that was to descend from high heaven. 2. The 90 million angels looked upward, watching for the dawning of the light, waiting and watching. And many a one who remembered Edisei, of 200 years ago, wondered if she would return in glory, like when she came and crowned God by JEHOVIH's command. Some were robing themselves in white, and hastening nervously, like a bride about to wed. Some were half inclined to sorrow for leaving the earth and lower heaven, where they had toiled so long, and some were stately and by their presence said, Thy will be done, O JEHOVIH. 3. God ascended the throne, and Oahspe came up and sat on his right hand, and the light of JEHOVIH shone upon them so that many newborn, especially of the Ession spectators, could not look upon them. 4. God said, One Dan hath come and gone, this harvest is but 30 millions. 5. Oahspe said, Thy Son, O JEHOVIH, hath shaped the destiny of a world. Great is his glory. 6. A light of golden hue gathered above the throne, and took the form of a triangle, and there was a graven image at every corner, the which, when read, was IOD, and it was in the character of Waga, bestowed by the Lord on the altars in the house of worship on earth, and its value was 33 million, which was the exact number prepared for the emancipated heaven in Etheria, and the 33 was the years of a generation of mortals. 7. God said, JEHOVIH is one, the living is one, inanimate corpore is one, and these three are the entirety. To teach mortals this, O Oahspe, is to give wisdom to the earth. Take thou this triangle, O thou, Son of the Most High. And as long as Cephas endereth on the earth shall it be the bequeathed heirloom of heaven, descending from God to God that OCCUPeth the throne. 8. Thereupon God stretched forth his hands, and the triangle became fixed and solid, and God hung it on Oahspe's neck, adding, In the name of JEHOVIH, receive thou this jewel, as my parting testimonial. Remember that, when mortals are raised up to understand this symbol of 3 in 1, then will cosmon begin to dawn on the earth. 9. Oahspe said, O God, thou symbol of the 3 attributes, love, wisdom and power. Thou didst leave thy stately home, where thou hadst gods and goddesses for companions, and come to the far-off earth, which was young and curtained round with poisonous gases, to guard the young and imperfect angels of other worlds in their wanderings forth, with thy wisdom, love and power concealed. Thou didst give them liberty and yet redeem them. Thou hast stretched forth thy hand over the earth and made it to yield souls to glorify the Creator. 3522 Oahspe. And yet in all the while thou hast never quoted thyself. Oh that this could be taught to angels and men. Who is it that will not trip or mention himself, or make himself a manifested self? 10. This day I am to be crowned, to fill the place thou hast built up, but I falter and tremble like a child. Oahspe burst into tears, and after a little while he added, O JEHOVIH, why hast thou laid Oahspe's tears so close? Thou hast created love in my soul, and it hath grown to be a mountain. God, thy Son, who hath been my tutor for 1,000 years, and on many worlds, corpore and is now thrusting thy glory upon me. 11. God said, Heed thou the earth and her heavens, for they are to be thine for one Dan. And remember also, that though I ascend with my hosts to Etheria, yet I have charge of this world until the completion of this cycle, 2,800 years, my archangels shall henceforth answer to thy prayers to JEHOVIH. 12. Suddenly a light came down from the firmament, like a new star, twinkling, with a halo extending wide on every side. All eyes were turned up, full of expectancy. Hushed and still, the 90 million stood. 13. Presently the star assumed a brighter phase and spread its halo outward, with horns descending, like a crescent, such as is formed in sacred worship when a god standeth in the midst. Larger and brighter the light grew, and tremulous and waving like sheets of fire. 14. Then shot down toward Horde and Mebe 3 rays of light, piercing, and in advance of the central orb. And the 3 rays were red, blue and yellow, but the crescent beyond was white, and it shone abroad over the heavens, so that the corporeal sun and stars in the firmament were invisible. 15. At beholding the majesty and grandeur of JEHOVIH's host descending, millions of Asyans and clouded souls in the lower heaven, broke and fled, some ran and hid to avoid the threatening light. For such is the magnifying power of the Etherian flame, that all dark thoughts and hidden evil lurking in the soul are magnified, and made so plain that even the dumb can read them through. 16. Millions of the Etherians on God's staff had seen such scenes before, and now stood in glee, firmly riveted by the joy within them. To them, 100 to 1, clung the newly raised from earth, who had never known any other heaven, save such as travelleth with the earth, around about the sun every year. From these there rose millions of whispers, saying, It is like a new death, like a new birth. Behold, a man dieth on earth, and his spirit fleeth off to another world. And yet now again it fleeth off to still another world. 17. Quickly, now, came the 3 great rays, foremost projecting, and these were the orders of marshals from the Ajan fields of Oahspe and Hunish. The red lights represented Agi, the blue lights represented Oahspe, and the yellow, Hunish. And there were of marshals 1 million, and they cast the curtains round about to cover all of Horde, the great kingdom. 18. Chief of the marshals was Ajang, and next to him were 5 sub-chiefs, and next to them 1,000 tributary chiefs, who were masters of the ceremonies, and they came in the center of the descending 3 great rays of light, came swiftly and direct toward the throne of God. And the substance of the rays of light was like curtains of cloth, one end of which reached up to the now near approaching crescent sea of fire. 19. When the light was near touching on the pillars of fire surrounding Mebe, it slackened a little, and then more and more slowly. The chieftains leapt from the Etherian flames and stood at the foot of God's throne, saluting in JEHOVIH's name. 20. God and Haja stood up and answered the sign, then descended and went to the left and right of Ajang, and they ascended, and Ajang sat upon the throne, and the voice of JEHOVIH spake through him, saying, 21. Hold up your heads and rejoice, O my sons and daughters. Behold, I come in a flame of fire. I am here, I'm there, and throughout the place of heaven, boundless. I gather together and I put asunder the loves of mortals and angels. For they shall go abroad in my firmament and behold my glorious works. 22. Down to the corporeal world I descend, and carry hence the loved, for they are mine. I will make all people look up to my kingdoms. Down to the lower heaven I come in ships of light, curtained about with Etherian mantles, and gather in my harvest of new births to higher worlds, more radiant. My hosts below shall look up and glorify my everlasting splendors. 23. I give the tear of grief and sorrow and pity, but, in its flowing forth, I come with holier light and power to stir up the souls of my people. For they shall learn to speak to their Father, who heareth and giveth ear, and is full of love. 36 Book of Sethantes, son of JEHOVIH. 23-24. My joy is in the birth and growing up of souls, and in the joy of their joys and in the proclaiming of their adoration for my boundless universe. 25. I call to them in darkness, and they come forth, but they halt in the darkness, and I call again, and I send my higher, upraised angels to them, and they call also. Yea, I fill the sky with the splendor of my worlds, and corpore, that I may stir man up to rise and enjoy the things I have made. 26. The voice departed, and Ajang said, Behold the glory of the heavens, O my beloved, and the reward of the diligent in heart. JEHOVIH liveth and reigneth, the highest and never to be reached, the forever beyond, and yet ever present. 27. O thou light of light and life of life, how wonderful is the substance of thy creation. Thou hast given me light to behold thy splendors, which are forever new. O JEHOVIH, thou past, present and future ophone time, which is and was and ever shall be. JEHOVIH, thou, seen and unseen and potent, who hast from thy very self imparted a part to all the living. Who hast raised up these of Horde. Glory be to thee forever and ever. 28. And now, by certain signs and signals, Oahspe directed the officers of his hosts to take possession of Meb and Hord. And the marshals extended out around the place, and by their presence added new light to the pillars of fire. 29. The marshals were decorated with colored raiment and signs and symbols, denoting the places whence they came, and their rank as gods, and the experience they had passed through. Ceased 30. When Oahspe speaking, the music of the chosen band of descending angels broke upon the place, first, earth, lower heaven, and Etherian hosts descending. 3724 Oahspe. Faintly and far off. The work of the marshals was in keeping with the time of the music, and as the music drew nearer and stronger, so also more and more of the number of marshals descended and filed off to their respective places. 31. Presently the advance of the horns of the crescent, and the cold wave of the falling sea of fire, swept over the lower heaven fearfully and of unquestionable power. By a signal from God, the brides and bridegrooms joined in the music of the archangels, and great was the glory thereof. 32. Betwixt the horns of the crescent was a star of wonderful beauty, and it came toward God's throne, reflecting countless rays of light, brilliantly and awe-inspiring. And as the star drew near, it opened on the advance side, as a shell is opened, and there, with arms entwined, sat Oahspe and Onzi, goddesses. Chapter XX. Hajang stepped down and stood at the Ahjeng. Masters of the inner temple gathered about the star, and unrolled a carpet reaching across the threshold, and the two goddesses stepped forth from the crystalled cushion within the star, and glided, as if on a ray of light, up to the judgment seat of JEHOVIH. Meanwhile the musicians, a million of voices, chanted, Glory, glory to JEHOVIH, Creator of worlds. Whose place magnificence is, and counterpart to endless time. The All, whose great existence surpasseth the grandest thoughts of men and gods. Whose worlds in splendor, are the scrolls on which his hands write with the souls of mortals his almighty will, and boundless love. 2. And now did spread out, and round about the wheels of the great ship of fire, and all the millions of hosts, men and women, archangels and gods and goddesses formed a mighty amphitheater, in which Meb, with his 33 million brides and bridegrooms of JEHOVIH, occupied the arena, themselves arrayed in white, but differently from the redeeming hosts from the Etherian worlds. 3. In time to the music, without a word of command, moved the hosts, as one person moveth, they in unison moved, and each is a shining crystal in the place allotted, and void in nothing, and all so perfect, as if JEHOVIH had made each a special work of wonder to inspire men with reverence for the talents he had created withal. 4. In the same time the hosts were forming in place, so was the time of the music, and when the music ceased all was still. The throne was in the east, facing the west. The hosts of Meb, who were the brides and bridegrooms of JEHOVIH, occupied the lower plain, and the Etherians surrounded them on all sides, rising higher and higher in the distance. 5. God and Oahspe met the goddesses at the foot of the throne. God knew Onzi hundreds of years before in other worlds, and he remembered Oahspe, who had crowned him 200 years ago. So also did Oahspe know Oahspe and Onzi. When they met they all saluted by touching the right hands, and immediately the goddesses ascended to the center of the throne, and God went on the right and Oahspe on the left. 6. Oahspe and Onzi looked hopefully on the brides and bridegrooms, but were passive. Presently the voice of JEHOVIH spake out of the light of the throne, saying, 7. Soul of my soul, substance of my substance, created I man. Out of my corporeal self clothed I him with flesh and blood and bones. Man's spirit I gave from out mine own spirit, ever present, and I quickened him to move on the face of the earth. 8. God and the brides and bridegrooms responded, being quickened by the all-light, out of corpore I came, quickened by JEHOVIH's ever-presence. By virtue of his wisdom, power and love came I into the world, to JEHOVIH all glory is due forever. 9. Again JEHOVIH spake, saying, A time I allotted to man to grow, to attain wisdom, power and love, a time to rejoice and a time of sorrow, a time to beget offspring and know a father's care and love. In likeness of me, to him gave I attributes of my attributes, that man might know me in my love. 10. Response. By the bondage of my love to my begotten, do I know my Father liveth and reigneth, and will watch over me forever. 11. Again the voice of JEHOVIH said, A time in the corporeal form I gave to man, that he might learn corporeal things, and to learn whence springeth the tree of life. From no self-existence of his own made I man, but from myself, and in the place I quickened him into life, I bound him for a season. But when man hath filled his corporeal life, I provide death to deliver him into a new world. 12. Response. Beautiful is thy wisdom, O JEHOVIH, and far-reaching. I was bound in the flesh even as a beast, likened unto the 38th book of Sethantes, son of JEHOVIH. 25 attributes of a beast was my judgment, struggling for things of the corporeal world. With horror I looked upon death, as a sore calamity did I value thy cutting me off. But thou deliveredst me into another world, preserving my judgment whole, bringing me to the heavens of my forefathers. 13. Then JEHOVIH said, In no time brought I man, newborn into the world, without a mother and a nurse and rich nourishment to feed him withal. Yea, I gave him angels to inspire him and lift him up, and I provided a Lord of the earth to manage his kingdoms and nations, and a God in heaven with a throne and judgment seat, that man in the angel world should be provided and wisely instructed in soul to comprehend the glory and harmony of my worlds. 14. Response. Bountiful, O my Father above. From nothing that I knew of, thou broughtest me into conscious being, and in my helpless days fed me with rich nourishment. Thou gavest me rulers and examples of government on the earth to discipline my soul to the order of men. And when I was born in heaven, I found God on his throne in a well-ordered haven of rest, with willing angels to clothe me and feed me and teach me the ways of thy kingdoms in the firmament. 15. Again JEHOVIH said, When man hath fulfilled his time in the lower heaven, I prepare him by ample teachers for a higher resurrection. As brides and bridegrooms my hosts adorn them, and I come in a sea of fire. First was man wedded to the earth, by me solemnized, and without man's knowledge. Then to the lower heaven was he wed, laboring with spirits and mortals. 16. The voice departed, and now Oahspe spoke, saying, Behold the brides and bridegrooms of JEHOVIH. When they were young they were wed first to the earth and then to the lower heaven, without their wills. Now they stand before the throne of God. In thy name, O JEHOVIH, I command them to speak their wills. 17. Response. I put away myself for thee, O JEHOVIH. Make me one with thee. I put away the earth for thy kingdom's sake, O JEHOVIH. Make me one with thee. I put away thy Lord and thy God, O JEHOVIH, for sake of thee. Thy Lord and thy God raised me up and made me strong, but lo, the small spark of thyself within my soul hath grown to be a giant, bowing to none but thee, O JEHOVIH. O make me thy bride, bridegroom, O JEHOVIH. 18. Oahspe said, The lame and the weak shall have a crutch, but the glory of the Father is to see his brides and bridegrooms walk alone. Whoever to JEHOVIH is wed, shall never more to this man nor that man, nor woman, nor lord, nor God, nor to any person or thing, for self's sake, say, Help. 19. Response. God and the Lord were my saviors, without them I had never known of thy exalted heavens, O JEHOVIH. Thy Spirit calleth me forever upward. Thy Lord and thy God taught me to look upward, yea, they prayed for me. Now am I strong before thee, O JEHOVIH. Henceforth will I pray to thee only, but never for mine own benefit, nor for glory, nor for ease, nor for rest, nor for exaltation, but that I may be quick and strong and wise to do thy will forever. 20. Oahspe said, Brides and bridegrooms of JEHOVIH, all hail. All hail. 21. Response. Voice of JEHOVIH, all hail. All hail. 22. Oahspe said, To JEHOVIH and his everlasting kingdoms are ye wed forever. 23. Response. To thee, O JEHOVIH, am I wed forever. 24. Oahspe said, To be one with him forever. 25. Response. To be one with JEHOVIH forever. 26. The voice of JEHOVIH said, They shall judge from my judgment seat, in them shall my wisdom shine, for they are mine forever. 27. Response. To consider thee first, in all things, O JEHOVIH, shall I henceforth forever. 28. The voice said, Behold I have woven a crown for them, adorn them for my sake. 29. Response. I will have no crown, save that which is woven by thee, O JEHOVIH. For thy sake will I wear thy crown forever. 30. The voice said, Behold, They that were my sons and daughters have become my brides and bridegrooms, they are mine forever. 31. Response. I am Jehovih's forever. 32. Onzi said, Pass before the throne, O my beloved. The testimony of Jehovih awaiteth his redeemed. Ye shall dwell in the emancipated kingdoms forever. 33. And now the hosts of brides and bridegrooms passed singly before the throne of God. 3926 Oahspe. The whole 33 million passed. And the Esonors chanted a hymn of glory, and there came down from the firmament above mists of yellow, blue and red, and the mists fell into the archangels, hands who stood about the throne, and by them was converted into crowns, the which were placed on the heads of the brides and bridegrooms. And on the crowns were the words, In wan brought forth, delivered in Hunnish. 34. As the hosts passed in front of the throne, Onzi said, By that which springeth out of the earth is the atmospherean fed and clothed, but the Etherian draweth from the Etherian worlds. Behold, the crowns of the earth and of the lower heaven are but symbols of power, wisdom and love, but that which I bring from Jehovih's kingdom containeth real virtue. 35. And lo and behold, the brides and bridegrooms became as archangels by virtue of the crowns from Jehovih's hand. Chapter 21. When, October, now, in the name of the hen the ceremonies were ended, Onzi said, Soon, Father, will we rise and go a long journey, and that ye may be apprised and consorted in love, I proclaim the freedom of the hour in Jehovih's name. 2. And the people went and mingled with each other, rejoicing and saluting. And Haja and God and Edisai greeted one another, and the lords came forward, and were also greeted, and then the marshals and the Esonors and all long-serving laborers. And lastly, all that had redeemed any man or woman from darkness to light, came also, and were saluted and duly honored. 3. And for the space of 1 hour all the angels indulged in revelry, reunion and fullness of heart, but no book could relate the thou s and th part of the questions asked and love assurances expressed. 4. When the hour was ended, Onzi signalled the proper officer, and he sounded the gavel thrice, whereupon all was hushed and still. Onzi said, 5. As Jehovih bestoweth a newborn child, so also doth he take the father and the mother away to the S-world. As Jehovih sent Edisai, my sister, to establish the lower heaven, so have I come by his command to bear hence this harvest to his everlasting kingdom. As a child bewaileth the loss of its father and mother, so will ye that remain bewail the loss of this rich harvest of archangels. 6. It is Jehovih's will that ye drink deep of the sorrow of parting, for by this bondage will ye be again reunited in the heavens still above. The progress of the soul of man is forever onward, and in steps and plateau, and the glory of the resurrection of him that goeth before is equally great as is the sorrow of him that remaineth behind. But the love that bindeth together is as a chain outstretched across the universe, nor time nor distance shall prevail against the inventions thereof. 7. Swift messengers, well trained to course the vault of heaven, will pass between you, carrying the tidings of your soul's delight. And as Jehovih giveth summer to follow winter, and the winter the summer, so also shall the time come again and again, forever, in which ye shall mingle and part, again labor together, but in broader fields, and again part for a season. 8. Behold the wisdom of Jehovih in placing far apart the places of the souls of men, for all things abiding near together equalize themselves. Even as there is glory in a new birth, so is there glory in death. As there is sorrow in death, so is there joy in resurrection. Time is now come when these that ye see, ye shall not see for a long season, but ye shall rejoice in this hour of parting, for they rise as brides and bridegrooms to Jehovih. The 9. The Esonors sang an anthem of praise in which all the hosts united, and great was the glory thereof. And now Onzi arose, saying, 10. JEHOVIH, Almighty and everlasting. Holy, holy Creator, ruler and giver forth. Look upon this thy Son, Haja. O Father, in thy name and by virtue of thy power in me vested, do I perpetuate and crown him God of heaven and earth. 11. Haja, now God, said, Thy will be done, O JEHOVIH. Then Onzi turned to the 5 chief lords of the 5 divisions of the earth, and bestowed them in like manner. 12. And Onzi stretched forth her hand, saying, Give me a crown, O Jehovih, for thy Son, God of heaven and earth. And there descended Etherian substance into her hand, and she raised it up, and lo, it became a crown of great beauty, and she put it on God's Haja's head. Then in like manner did she crown the lords of the earth. 40 Book of Sethantes, son of Jehovih. 272613. And Edisai and Onzi came down and sat at the foot of the throne. 14. God that had been Jah came down, and Waga and Jud with him, and stretching forth their hands, they said to Edisai, Onzi and Sethants, the retiring God, Arise, O goddess, arise, O goddess, arise, O God, and go thy way. 15. And they rose up and marched forth. The proper officers had already prepared the ship for its Etherian journey, and soon as Edisai and Onzi had entered the central star, all the people that were to ascend went into the places assigned to them. 16. God that had been Jah and the lords returned, in tears, to the throne, and now the plateau of everlasting light began to ascend. Music sprang from every side, glory fying JEHOVIH and the magnificence of his bountiful worlds. 17. And those of the lower heaven were as the echo of the music above, and the light of the ascending ship of fire made all else as a shadow. But higher and higher it arose, in the form of a crescent, slowly turning on its upright axis, turning and rising, higher and higher, and the music faded away in the distance. 18. In a little while the meteor-like ascending ship of heaven looked like a star, till farther and farther off it disappeared in the distance. 19. Thus ascended to the emancipated heavens in Etheria the first harvest of angels born of the earth. God chapter 22. Od said, Arise, O lords of my realm, and go to the kingdoms of earth, which ye received from Jehovah's hand, and may his wisdom, love and power be with you all. 2. And the lords departed, they and their attendants, and went to their kingdoms over mortals. 3. And this was the beginning of the second dispensation of the first cycle of the Eoption age of the earth. And the lower heaven was well established in habitations, angels and officers, and in all the requisites for the upraised souls of mortals. 4. And God dispensed laws and government after the manner of his predecessor, enlarging all the places according to the increase in the number of spirits rising up from the earth. 5. And the voice of JEHOVIH was with God, and as the first kingdom had been called Horde, so was the second called Horde, signifying the place of God. 6. And as it had been with the lords of the earth in their places, so continued it with the new lords, and they enlarged their places also, even according to the increase in the number of inhabitants of the earth. 7. And as it had been of old, that messengers went constantly from Horde to the lords' places, so did they also continue to do, and by this means all the affairs of the lower heaven were kept in harmony, lords and God. 8. And God ruled in Horde 400 years, and Horde spread over all the lands of the earth. Chapter 23. The nth time of God and his hosts was fulfilled. JEHOVIH brought the earth into Dan of Aeon, in the ark Laes, whose angels descended in a ship of fire, and delivered God, his lords and all the hosts under them who were prepared for the Etherian resurrection. At this time there were in Atmospheria 625 million inhabitants. And the number of the second harvest was 280 million. 2. After the manner of the ascent of the first harvest, so was the ascent of the second harvest. And the place of the landing of the second harvest in the firmament of heaven was in Laes, and Bin, and the grade of the harvest was 78, being 2 less than the grade of the first harvest. 3. So the heavens of the earth passed into the care of succeeding God and lords, who had been raised up and prepared therefore. And for the present there were no more Etherians dwelling in these regions. 4. JEHOVIH had said, They that come out of the earth shall be sufficient unto themselves. As a mother provideth for her child, so do I provide for the spirit generations of a corporeal world, but when they are mature in wisdom, strength and love, I command them to take the places of lords and God in the management of my kingdoms. 5. So it came to pass after the ascent of the Etherians, the whole earth and its lower havens were under the dominion of such as had sprung up out of the earth. Hence it became a saying, the first was Etherian rule, the second was atmospherian rule. For the earth 4128 Oahspe had lords who had been on no other world, and a God who had never been on other worlds. 6. And it likewise came to pass that the atmospherian rulers were more lenient and less tyrannical in their government than had been the Etherians. For as the Etherians had forbidden the Esseans, the newly dead, to return to their mortal kindred, even to the 50th year in spirit life, so, not so with the present lords and God, for they indulged hundreds of thousands of Esseans for sympathy's sake to return to their mortal kindred. And these Essenes became not workers in heaven, either for others or for their own resurrection to higher regions, but they became idlers and vagabonds in the lower heaven, oft living with their mortal kindred till their mortal kindred died, and then in turn persuading such Essenes to do even as they did. 7. And God perceived, when it was too late, that his leniency had laid the foundation for disorganizing the kingdom of heaven. For the strolling idlers, knowing no other heaven, sowed the spirit of disbelief in the places of learning and industry in the lower heaven, persuading others that they were toiling to no good purpose. 8. They said, Behold, it was told us on earth there was a JEHOVIH. But we are in heaven, and yet we find him not. Now do we know of a truth there is no all person. Come, then, let us seek ease and the rich viands that rise up out of the earth. A man liveth on the earth and dieth, and his spirit floateth around about, and there is no more of him. Why will ye serve the Lord? Why will ye serve God? Be ye free and live for yourselves instead of others. 9. Thus it came to pass that little by little the lower heaven began to fall from its high estate. 10. The third Dan was 600 years, and God and his lords, having provided successors, ascended with their harvest to Etheria. And the number thereof was 408,000,000 brides and bridegrooms, and their grade was 66. 11. The fourth Dan was 500 years, and the harvest was 600,000,000 brides and bridegrooms, and their grade was 58. 12. The fifth Dan was 300 years, and the harvest was 200,000,000, and their grade was 50, which was the lowest grade capable of emancipation, or capable of surviving in Etheria. 13. And now darkness set in and covered all the earth around. And from this time until the end of the cycle, which was 3,000 years from the birth of man on earth, there were no more resurrections to the emancipated heavens. 14. The kingdom of Horde was broken up and dissolved. The spirits loved not to labor and to learn according to JEHOVIH's plan, but returned to the earth attractions, and they were called Drujas, because they desired not resurrection. 15. And God and the lords, and their officers and teachers, were without subjects and pupils. And mortals were beset by thousands and millions of Drujas, so that the Ashers were powerless to accomplish good inspiration. 16. At this time there were more than 3,000,000,000 angels in Atmospheria, and for the most part, they dwelt on earth. 17. Thus ended the first cycle of the first heaven of the earth. End of Book of Sethantes, son of JEHOVIH. 1. The sign is the circle twice cut. For further information see Amethachava, Book of Sappha. 2. This would make the age of the earth at that time 9,470,500 years old. 3. In another place we are told that, the ocean sendeth up vapor, so that the land send up vegetable substance of which the spiritual part reacheth certain plateaus, whereon are situated the lower kingdoms of heaven. Here the spirits labor after the manner of mortals, but spiritually. Hence in a spiritual way the spirits have transportation, factories and all manner of industries. 42. For the ancients called the lost spirits by different names in all countries in India, Drudge, in China, One Yang, in the Algonquin tribes, Oahspe, the Hebrews, Giraffa i.e. to be feared. Then we have the terms, ghosts, fairies, wraiths, etc. etc. For modern terms. Under the name of familiar spirits the ancient Hebrews were well informed of these Drujas. Drudge is a Vedic name. The ancient Chinese called them Maspi. The Germans called them the double, because when they take on forms they look like the mortal to whom they are engrafted. The term, familiar spirits, as now used, has a wider range. First Book of the First Lords. Being contemporary with the Book of Sethantes, son of JEHOVIH. That is to say, as Sethantes was God of heaven, so in the same period of time his lords had dominion on the earth. And this is their book, even as the preceding one was God's book. Chapter I. In the beginning God created the heavens of unto man for 6 generations on the face of the earth. And it was so. And man may continue to walk up the earth, and the Lord made man upright. Right, ye shall teach him the law of I West, for in man was naked and not ashamed, neither knew man the sin of incest, but he dwelt as the beasts of the field. 2. And the Lord brought the angels of heaven to man, by his side took they on forms like unto man, having all the organs and attributes of mortals, for it was the time of the earth for such things to be. 3. And it came to pass that a new race was born on the earth, and these were called Iahans, because they were begotten of both heaven and earth. Hence it became a saying, the earth conceived of the Lord. 4. And the name of the first race was Oahspe, Adam, because they were of the earth only, and the name of the second race was Iahan, Abel, because they were capable of being taught spiritual things. 5. And the Lord said, of all that live on the face of the earth, or in the waters thereof, or in the air above, that breathes the breath of life, man only have I delivered unto knowledge of his Creator. 6. And the Lord spake unto the Iahan, through his angels spake he to them, saying, Go hide thy nakedness, for it is the commandment of God. 7. And the Iahans were afraid, and they clothed themselves, and were no longer naked before the Lord. 8. And the Lord commanded the angels to give up their forms, and to be no more seen as mortals. And it was done. And the Lord said unto them, Because ye brought forth life, which is in flesh and blood, ye shall minister. Man of himself cannot attain to know this. 10. Neither shall ye permit the Iahans to dwell with Oahspe, Adam, lest his seed go down in darkness. 11. And man was thus inspired of the Lord, and he walked upright, and prospered on the earth. 12. But after a season man became conceited in his own judgment, and he disobeyed the commandments of God. 13. And he strayed out of the garden of paradise and began to dwell with the Oahspeans, Adams, and there was born into the world a new race called Druk, Cain, and they had not the light of the Father in them, neither could they be inspired with shame, nor of heavenly things. 14. And the Iahans were grateful to the Lord, and they gave sacrifice in burnt offerings. And they said unto the Druks, Go ye and sacrifice unto the Lord, and he will prosper you. But the Druks understood not, and they fell upon the Lord's chosen, and slew them, right and left, taking their possessions. 15. And the Lord said unto the Druks, Because ye have slain your brethren, ye shall depart out of the place of God, and that ye may be known to the ends of the earth, I put my mark upon you. 16. And the mark of the Lord put upon the Druks was the shadow of blood, which, being interpreted, is war. 17. And the Lord God said, By this sign shall the tribes of Druk and their descendants be known unto the end of the world. 4:3-2 Oahspe. 18. And woman, being more helpless than man, cried out with fear, saying, O Lord, how shall I bring forth unto thee, and not unto the sons of death? 19. And the Lord said, Because thou hast brought forth in pain, and yet called on my name, behold, I will be unto thee as a shield and protector. For I will also put a mark upon the Iahans, my chosen, so thou shalt know them when they come unto thee. 20. And the Lord commanded the male Iahans, old and young, to be circumcised, that woman might not be deceived by the Druks. And the Iahans circumcised one another, old and young, for it was the testimony of the Lord unto woman that seed of their seed was born to everlasting life. 21. And the Druks Cain went away into the wilderness, and dwelt with the Oahspeans and with one another. 22. God said, A boundary line will I make betwixt the tribes of Druks and the Iahans, and this is the line that I the Lord God make betwixt them. 23. The Iahans shall labor and clothe themselves, and I will abide with them, but the Druks shall wander in the wilderness, neither laboring nor clothing themselves. 24. And it was so. The chapter 2. He time of the habitation of Oahspe was 8,000 years, and they survived 2,000 years after the time of the birth of the Iahans, which is to say, Oahspe dwelt on the earth 6,000 years, and then conceived of the chosen of God, and after that survived yet 2,000 years. 2. And Oahspe, Adam, disappeared off the face of the earth. 3. And there remained on the earth the sacred people, the Iahans, and the carnivorous people, the Druks. 4. The Iahans were white and yellow, but the Druks were brown and black. The Iahans were small and slender, but the Druks were tall and stout. 5. Now, because the Druks had not previously obeyed the Lord, but went and dwelt with the Oahspeans, there was a half-breed race born on the earth, called Yak, signifying ground people, and they burrowed in the ground like beasts of the forest. And the Yaks did not walk wholly upright, but also went on all fours. 6. God said, Because the Yaks cannot be taught the crime of incest, behold, they shall not dwell forever on the earth. So also shall it be with the Druks, save wherein they cohabit with the Iahans, whose seed is born unto everlasting life. But with the Druks, and their heirs that spring from the Yaks, there shall be an end, both in this world and the next. 7. And the arms of the yaks were long, and their backs were stooped and curved. And the Lord said, because they are the fruit of incest, and not capable of speech, nor of eternal life in heaven, the Iahans shall make servants of them. 8. And that they may not tempt my chosen to bring forth fruit unto destruction, they shall be neutralized in my sight. And the angels of God taught the Iahans to make eunuchs of the yaks. Of the males and females made the Iahans eunuchs of the yaks, and took them for servants. 9. And the Lord said, the yaks shall serve the Iahans, and build and sow and reap for them. And it was so. 10. The Iahans were disposed to live alone, but the Lord called them together, saying, come and dwell together in cities. For it is meet that ye live after the manner of my kingdoms in heaven. 11. Build ye therefore unto the Lord your God, and my angels shall dwell with you, teaching you to sing and dance for the glory of your Creator. 12. And man built unto the Lord, and established worship on earth after the manner of heaven. 13. Now it came to pass that the Druks came to witness the rites and ceremonies of the chosen, but they took no part therein, neither comprehended they the meaning thereof. 14. And God said unto the Iahans, that ye may teach some of them of the Lord your God, build ye within the house of worship an image of me, in likeness of man build ye it. And I will manifest unto as many as are capable of everlasting life. 15. And the Iahans, men and women, with their servants, built images of stone and clay and wood unto the Lord, and stood them by the altars of sacrifice. 16. And in the time of worship, the angels of the Lord came and possessed the idols and spake therefrom, with audible voices spake before mortals. 17. And the Druks inquired of the Iahans as to the cause thereof. And the Iahans said, 44 First Book of the First Lords. 3 Behold, there is a God in heaven, more subtle than the air of heaven. He it was that brought us forth out of darkness, he speaketh in idle that ye may know he abideth with his people. 18. The Druks said, what saith he? The Iahans answered, saying, that whosoever hath attained to remember God is in the way of everlasting life. 19. The Druks inquired, saying, how shall a man live forever? Behold, ye that believe also die. 20. The Lahins answered, saying, as the voice of the Lord is unseen but potent, so is there a spirit in man unseen and potent, which shall never die, but ascend in heaven to habitations prepared by the Lord. 21. And many of the Druks pondered on these things, and their thoughts quickened their souls within them, so that they brought forth heirs unto eternal salvation. 22. And the Lord said unto the Iahans, because ye have done a good thing, go ye abroad, by the roadsides and in other places, and build images unto me in mine, and my angels shall bestow gifts and signs and miracles. 23. And the Iahans covered the roadways of the earth over with idols of stone and wood and clay, and the angels of heaven descended to the idols and established thereabout heavenly kingdoms. 24. And when man came hither, and called on the name of the Lord, it was as a password for the angels, and they wrought miracles, and otherwise gave evidence unto man of the unseen. Chapter 3. God hath that the earth might be a place of rejoicing forever. And these are the commandments of the Lord God as given in that day. 2. Thou shalt strive to remember the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul. 3. Thou shalt not kill man, nor beast, nor bird, nor creeping thing, for they are the Lord's. 4. Thou shalt build walls round about thy cities, that beasts and serpents may not enter and do thee harm. And if thy habitation be in the wilderness, thou shalt build mounds of wood and earth to sleep on at night, that serpents and beasts may not molest thee. 5. The Iahans inquired of the Lord, saying, if we build walls around about our cities, how shall we get in and out? How shall we gather our harvests of fruit and nuts and seeds of the field? How shall we ascend on the mounds which we build in the wilderness? 6. The Lord said, behold, my angels shall teach you to build ladders and how to use them. And when ye go into the city at night ye shall take the ladders in after you, and when ye come out in the morning ye shall let the ladders down again. 7. And God's angels taught the chosen these things, and man provided the cities with ladders, and he provided the mounds with ladders also, according to the commandment of God were these things done. 8. And the Iahans prospered and spread abroad over the face of the earth. Hundreds of thousands of cities and mounds built they, and they rejoiced in the glory of all created things. Neither killed they man, nor beast, nor fish, nor bird nor creeping thing that breathed the breath of life. 9. And God saw that man was good and grateful in all things, and God called unto the angels of heaven, saying, Why are the Iahans good? For, as yet, they are ignorant. 10. And the angels answered, saying, Because thou saidst unto us, Go ye, as guardian angels, and inspire man to live without evil, even so have we administered unto the Iahans, guarding and inspiring them night and day. 11. God said, Why then, the Iahans have no honor. Except they learn of themselves to be good, they will be void of wisdom in heaven. For this reason ye shall withdraw a little, that man be tried as to his self-commandment. 12. And the angels withdrew a while from the Iahans. And now it came to pass, that they had stored in their cities and on their mounds ample provision of food and raiment for the winter, but the druks followed not the example of the Iahans, for the druks stored up nothing. 13. And when the angels departed a little way, evil spirits came to the druks, and said unto them, Behold, it is winter, and ye are hungry. Go ye over the ladders and possess the stores of the Iahans. 14. And the druks plundered the Iahans, and evil spirits sat upon the Iahans also, and many of them were inspired to defend their stores. And war ensued, and it spread around about the whole earth. 4:5 For Oahspe. 15. And the Iahans besought the Lord as to why God suffered evil to come upon his chosen. 16. And the Lord said, Because ye depended upon me for all things, ye developed not yourselves. Henceforth shall man learn to face evil on his own account, otherwise he could not attain to the Godhead in heaven. 17. Two entities has thy Creator given thee, that which is flesh, and that which is spirit. And the flesh shall desire earthly things, but the spirit shall desire heavenly things. 18. Behold, when the druks came upon thee for thy stores, thy flesh cried out war, and thy people fell. 19. Again have I come to thee to raise thee up, to make thee understand the spirit within. It is that, and not the flesh, which shall learn to triumph. 20. The Lahins said, Our people are scattered and gone, will they not mingle with the druks, and thus go out in darkness? 21. The Lord said, Behold, there were druks who had learned a little from the images, now because thy people are scattered and gone, they shall go amongst the druks and teach the law of incest and the name of God, and they shall also begin to hide their nakedness. 22. So the Lord inspired other people beside the Iahans, to make and wear clothes, and they thus wore them. 23. And again the Lord brought the Iahans together in lodges and cities, and he said unto them, Henceforth ye shall live upon the earth as an example of righteousness. And your brethren who have mingled with the tribes of darkness shall no longer molest you, but be your defenders and protectors. 24. And there began to be a new tribe on the earth, and they were called Iwans, because they were half-breeds, betwixt the druks and Iahans. The Iwans were red like copper, and they were taller and stronger than any other people in all the world. And the Lord commanded the Iwans, saying, 25. Protect ye the Hins, the little people, white and yellow, call them the sacred Peo, for ye are of them, and ye are also of the Lord your God. And it was so. Ple. Chapter IV. About this time man began to use his lips and tongue in enunciating words, prior to which he spoke in the thorax. 2. And the Lord spake unto the Iahans, saying, That the labor of the Lord thy God may be remembered on the earth, go provide me a stone and I will engrave it with mine own hand, and it shall be called Samoin, see first tablet, book of Sapha, because it shall be a testimony unto all nations and peoples, on the earth, of the first written language in all the world. 3. And the Iahans prepared a stone, and hewed it flat and then polished it smooth, and the Lord came down in the night and engraved it. And the Lord explained it, through his angels taught he the Iahans the meaning of the characters engraved thereon. 4. And the Lord said, Go into all cities in all the countries of the world, and provide ye copies like unto the tablet I have given. So it came to pass, the angels of heaven inspired the Iahans to make tablets and to read them, that the first language of the earth, Panic, might be preserved to the races of men. And it was so. 5. Now the Iwans partly obeyed the Lord and partly obeyed the way of the flesh, and they became warriors and destroyers, nevertheless they harmed not the Iahans, nor suffered harm to come upon them. 6. God had commanded the Iahans to make eunuchs of the Yaks, the monstrosities, and used them as servants, for the Lord saw that the yaks were not capable of everlasting life in heaven. 7. Now the Iwans also served the yaks in the same way, but they disobeyed God in inflicting the neutral gender on their enemies whom they captured in war. And although they were themselves half-breeds with the Druks, yet they hated the Druks, and pursued them with vengeance. 8. In those days the relative proportion of the races of men were Iahans, 100, Iwans, 300, Druks, 5,000, yaks, 5,000, and of monstrosities betwixt man and beast, 3,000, but the latter died each generation, for they had not the power of procreation amongst themselves. 9. And God saw the work of destruction going on, of the Iwans slaughtering right and left, and he sent the Iahans to preach amongst them, saying to the Iahans, 10. Thus say ye to the Iwans, whomsoever is created alive, kill not, for it is the commandment of the Lord,